So just a quick few notes. The piece is about a chess match. I think you read it in the program notes. A chess match from 1996. In 1996, IBM came up with the supercomputer Deep Blue, and it was the first time a computer had been intelligent enough to possibly be the smartest chess player in the world. And at the time it was Garry Kasparov from Russia. So there are a few instances of iterations of Deep Blue that had come that completely lost to Kasparov until 1996. And in 1996, there was a famous match. There were 6 games in total, and it was the first time a supercomputer was able to beat the champion, the smartest human on Earth. And in terms of like the computer world, they were like, yes, we did it, finally, we have moved forward. But there's a lot of controversy from that game because Kasparov, he's an absolute genius. He said that he felt a human move from the computer side. So afterwards, he gets really mad. You can see interviews and all that. He's super mad. Like, people cheated, Like, I know a computer wouldn't have been able to come up with that move, which is crazy how genius he is. He's able to feel, a human from a computer. Another interview says that when he plays with Deep Blue, he feels this emptiness because it's a computer. Usually with a human, he's able to sort of like feel the emotion, but he felt so empty. So he said that the audience actually really helped him sort of get some emotion from someone. So it's just a really fascinating sort of thing that not a lot of people know about. So whenever I read about 1996, because I like chess, I was in the back of my classroom, computer music classroom, and I said, what if I write music for chess? And that's where sort of the whole idea came. But I always thought, chess and a few things about life really reflect how other things really sort of are. I personally believe in God. There's a designer for all things. So personally, I feel like everything is sort of connected. I see like resemblance of chess games with music. So there's the beginning part of a chess game. Usually the player has a plan of what they're going to play, and the opponent usually knows what's going to come. So the beginning of the game actually goes pretty fast because there's just only a few ways you can start, and if you start a certain way, if you're bad, you start a certain way, you're going to lose. So there's only a few certain moves that are going to start. So there's a lot of names for that, for the beginning. And, music, you feel that too. In the beginning, there's this definitely, this sounds like the beginning type of stuff. And then there's the middle of the game where there's a lot of improvisation because you just don't know. Each game is so different. Same with music. Music, in the middle, there's a lot of development. You really don't know where the piece is going. But in chess, there's at the end, the section is called endgame. If you have seen Marvel, that's where the phrase comes from. Endgame is where there's only a few pieces left, and you usually sort of know who's going to win because they're just dominating a little bit. In music, we call that coda. So, if you're a good musician, you really feel, oh, this is coda. I think, musicians will know, this is about to end. So I thought, the chess game really resembles music. So out of those ideas, this piece came about. There's a few things to look for. Matthew Kinnear is the violinist. He's going to sort of portray Kasparov, who Devon is going to represent. So that's the sort of the human side of music and chess. And then there's here the computer music, playing computer sounds. And then Ernest is going to be playing Deep Blue. So if you see, this is the computer, and this is the human. So you'll see even in the music how the music interacts with the computer sounds, and how sometimes the computer sounds are trying to imitate human sounds, and when human sounds are actually trying to imitate computer sound. So that's sort of like the guide to listening to this piece. So without further ado, let's do it.
Game 2, I resigned when I was approved. As long as I keep on the question to make it as long as I keep on the question to make it, I mean, people hasn't won a single game off the fire. Game 2, I resigned. Game 2, I resigned when I was supposed to. I resigned. and sequence is real. Now, why do we detect? Okay, text here for the math. My things usually. My things. My things. Number one is practice as long as I keep on the pressure, forget again, one shoot get off. Because get into it, design what it's supposed to do. Get into it, design what it's supposed to do.
All right, thank you. I wanted to have a time of maybe Q&A. I want to share a few more thoughts, but I don't know if you noticed, but and I felt you may have mentioned it. That was the actual game. The actual game from 1996. So Ernest and Devon actually memorized the whole game, and they were playing like in time, So that's a really strange experience, by the way, to memorize a chess game and then play it on time. And then Matt had sections where they were written out, so he was playing exactly how it was supposed to, and there are moments where he was just improvising too. So that was part of the game. Chess had a lot of improvisation. So let's see if you guys had maybe some comments to make, like what was it like, performing a chess piece?
I guess I'll so when I first got the idea from Karen, that they were doing this performance and we're looking for chess players, we had a class together and she's telling me that they're going to do this in the springtime. As I practiced the game, I actually felt what Kasparov felt as a chess player. So when he mentions what it feels like to play a human versus a computer, I felt that as I was rehearsing and playing for the game. As chess players, we have some intuition and kind of we can gauge the psychology of our opponent and how strong they should be able to play based on human level play. But when you're playing the computer, it's very cold. I don't know if you noticed towards the ending, Kasparov's calculating. He's like, okay, I can go all in and do this attack, but he was off by a matter of a move or two, and that's just the coldness of a calculating computer. So this is a great experience.
Yes. And I'll say I've been playing chess since about 4th grade. I got really into it in middle school, but I never even knew about tournaments or about the world competition of chess. So right now we both work together with the Royal Oak Initiative. We go around the schools, libraries, recreation centers to make sure that youth get exposed to the power of chess, right? But one thing when we met, I said I've never studied chess theory. I've never memorized a game before, and I said if we do this, I get to be the winning side. I was like, okay, fair enough. But it's actually really cool studying the moves, memorizing it. It was like stepping into the life of a grandmaster. So a lot of people don't really appreciate what it's like to master chess. Some people are studying 7, 8, 9 hours a day. become grandmasters in the world of chess, which is why it is like PhD level understanding of the game, right? There's younger people who are able to step aside from school to study these things. So for me to sit in this and study this, I'm like, this is a glimpse of what it would really be like. And I got to feel what grandmaster level play is like, right? I don't play at grandmaster level. Newsflash. But it was really cool just seeing how the game developed and how Kasparov would respond. So it was definitely a fun experience. I think it took my chess game to the next level. Next time we actually play it, I will win.
Let's take a seat. Matt.
Yeah, so obviously this is, I'm a classically trained violinist, so when I was approached with the idea more of the score, I was looking at it, and it was something unlike anything that I had played before. I've done modern compositions, but definitely the concept behind it, I'm an avid chess person ever since we began to shake. But that was the main reason where I'm like, okay, chess game, violin, I'm in. Like, I didn't even have to look at the score to know I wanted to do that. But once I did, at first, what I was looking at, I'm like, okay, well, put on my metronome and see what happens, because it is very specific at times with rhythms, articulations, gestures, and at other times it's very not specific. So if you looked at my my score, the bar lines just start getting obliterated. Like you have notes, and it's like, okay, well it has to happen in this amount of time, roughly. But you really have no. And so until yesterday, when we had our we showed up and we rehearsed, I was like, okay, this is gonna be interesting. So I thought Kenji, and I'm like, Kenji, so you just get like I have 15 questions, I'm like this. He's like, no, it's actually pretty, sort of mathematical in terms of the timing. And so I went through and I marked quite literally every single second mark when this needs to start. So I have a relative idea of what I'm supposed to do. But the one thing that really got me hooked on the piece, I would have to say without a doubt, was the bit of backstory about kind of the violin and its counter persona, the computer, and how it relates to Kasparov and Pluto. And so when he's like, well, you're supposed to represent human emotion, basically go for it. And at first I was like, this is very specific. Like I'll try to be as emotional as I can with it, but also play the notes at the same time. But that's when things started to open up and make sense for me. So
Perfect. No, I appreciate you guys putting the time for it. I have other notes, but before that, any questions, any comments or anything like that? Yes.
Kasparov is black, and traditionally, if you're black, you're on the defense. He was very aggressive
Yes.
in his moves. He played as if he was white,
Yes.
and so did that take affect the way you wrote the score?
I'm not a chess master in any way. I just know Kasparov was aggressive. I didn't play the game with my friend, and I was observing some bold moves by Kasparov. So the interview, even in the interviews, his emotion is so strong. Like he was so mad. So I definitely wanted to reflect that in the computer system. Even some of the gestures, mad, the way it just plays out, it just sounds a little angry, So I definitely think I love a little bit of that concentration.
I can also address that as well. So I grew up as a scholastic player, playing from 6th grade through high school, and even playing competitively after that. So I know what it feels like to be in that tournament environment. And at the highest levels, there's actually some psychology related to the move choice, the first couple of moves. So theoretically, the C5 or the Sicilian or this choice of opening actually is an aggressive style choice of opening. So typically, the opponent can kind of tell, oh, this guy's trying to play for a win. He's not okay with just a draw. It kind of becomes his mind game at the highest level.
One thing I noticed about it is, as you hear the music going back and forth, there's also that same dynamic shifting back and forth in the chess game as well. So with moving the pawn in front of the king, that's one of the most aggressive openings with the white pieces. One of the most assertive, controlling the center. And then he says, oh, I'm taking the center back.
That's right.
And then the computer said, okay, you can try that. I'm going to take it back again. So you see this power struggle taking place on the chessboard, controlling the center, but also you hear it in the music as well at the beginning, and then it gets into the sprint, right? So that was fun playing the game. We practiced it, but that was a really cool immersive experience.
And you heard throughout, he keeps saying, as long as I can keep on the pressure. That's just like his mantra. As long as I can keep on the pressure, I'll destroy them. But when it's a computer, you can't play with a computer's mind. It's just cold.
Did he really knock the pieces off?
Whatever. That is in the program notes, so that is something I instructed. So, any other questions? Yes.
How did you end up choosing a violin as a representative of a Kasparov as opposed to a cello or like a viola?
Oh, the violin.
Yeah.
The choice of the violin. That's interesting. Let me think. I think it was just like, I just always think violinists are very expressive, they came with cellos, you gotta stay right here, so, Yo-Yo Ma really moves a lot, but a violinist can just really feel like that, so, that was one of the instructions to the math too, just be as expressive as possible, and it's got power too, I think a flute would have been a little flimsy and not as Kasparov, so, I think a cello would have worked too, but violin is what I wanted. Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about the inspiration of the electronic side?
Sure.
The electronic sounds, like where do they come from?
Yeah.
You say a little bit of, in the program, it comes from the chess notation, or how does that?
Yes, that's right. Sure. There's different ways to notate chess, like moves and stuff like that. But one simple way that I found on the internet was sort of a snapshot of the 8 lines of the. This is loading really slowly.
Buy some time.
Yes.
So on the chessboard, quick explanation. We set up board, you're always gonna have a light square in your bottom right hand side, always. And then from the light player's perspective, where's kind of the light pieces, it works like a grid. So the columns, the files are going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. And the numbers just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So every square has a name. And obviously every piece has a name. So as you're pulling up the notation, you're just basically saying which piece is going to which square.
Right. So here's one of the notations. So this whole thing is a snapshot. It says in the first line, you have rook, knight, bishop, and so forth. So I went through and I chose a sound for each piece of the chess piece. So then when Deep Blue makes a move, I don't know if you heard that is the computer reading this whole thing. So whenever you hear it, and so you see a lot of pieces like that, so that was one of the inspirations. And then Matt, if you notice, he was playing, he was actually trying to imitate the notation of the chess. So that's a little.
That was deep.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's one aspect of it. Obviously, the interview from Kasparov, I thought it'd be fun to sort of, put his thoughts into it. So when he starts walking, it's just him in an interview trying to sort of remember the game and stuff like that. So that's what the computer sounds mean. Another thing was one move. I wanted to have a wood sound. So I don't know if you heard the. That was in my. I would try to do that, but I wanted a low boom. So I actually, in the recording studio, I grabbed the door that was wood and I just hit it with my phone. So that was how I recorded that sound. I just wanted a wood sound. So there's that sound. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
In the actual game, was Kasparov at a computer or was it the thing outside where he was just sitting with himself kind of basically?
So there was a person moving the pieces who had a computer next to them.
Okay.
And the deep blue was the side of 2 filing cabinets.
Okay.
So that's why Kasparov thinks there was foul play, because behind the computers, someone could have. He said that there were 8 chess masters just handling it. Now do this, and then he had an earpiece or something, and it was moving, right? But to this day, we don't know. Kasparov is very much a fiery, controversial person. So
It was a huge sponsorship, corporate sponsorship opportunity for IBM.
that's right.
To say we beat the smartest,
Yeah.
our computer beat the smartest person in the world in this smart game of chess. Right?
Any others?
A fun fact as well is after again. And they're like, nope, we shut down the whole program. No chance to play us. We get to go out with the champions of the world. So we'll never really know.
We'll never know.
5 years later, Kasparov retires from professional sports.
That's right. Any other questions? Right. I had some final class. I don't remember. Something about, but maybe for another time. But yeah, I think it was this. I think when we think about art, you can look in very different ways. I really think that the multimedia, multi-collaboration art is starting to really take off, and it's been becoming really, really interesting. So, as much as I think deep about these things, I think art can be really fun and really cool looking too, So I think the multi-collaboration stuff is just exciting for me. So more things like this can happen, that would be my hope. And again, once again, I want to thank the gallery, Cool and Lily and everybody who helped out. The space is really, really cool, So maybe you don't know much about jazz or music, but I hope you at least enjoyed the atmosphere. But anyways, once again, I want to thank everyone for coming. So there's some refreshment outside.
That's great, yeah.
Oh yeah, first, yes.
Chess matches are very slow.
Yes.
You sped everything up.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Because if you had to do this in real time,
Oh,
it would take hours.
I mean, you know how long the day is?
So standard time control.
Oh my gosh.
Standard time control can be 5 to 6 hour games.
That's very good.
Now a computer can calculate millions of moves per second, right? But within the controls, it's different.
That's definitely one difficulty with the piece is that if you don't come sort of prepared, knowing the game, you miss a lot of things, So that is a little bit of a difficult side. But if you know the game, I think it's the music gets even more meaning and depth. So.
As we said, we're not kicked out of the space. If anyone would like to learn the game of chess, we can teach you in 5 minutes or less. That's what we do. A lot of people are intimidated by the game, and we just want to remind everyone that you are brilliant, you are powerful, you can learn this ancient game to do anything you put your mind to.